Here's how Israel will defeat Hamas. Netanyahu has basically decided not to invade Gaza permanently, not to permanently demilitarize it, because to do that would require Israeli troops to be in Gaza 24/7 for many, many months or years. You can't rely on the UN or European troops to police that, and Israel would have to do it itself. And the likelihood of major casualties is very significant. This kind of drip, drip, drip of guerrilla warfare and homemade bombs and roadside bombs, we went through it in Iraq. And Israel is a very small country, and those kinds of casualties, each one would sear through the Israeli population and cause no end of grief and no end of political damage to the Netanyahu government. So I don't think Netanyahu is going to do that. I think they've taken out almost all the tunnels, they've taken out a lot of the rockets, and they've killed a bunch of Hamas leaders. Now I think he's going to pull back to the border and basically rely on national technical means to stop attacks on Israel. It's a three-part effort. The first is the wall of separation that they've already built on the West Bank, which has totally stopped suicide bombers from coming into Israel. That was a daily occurrence before that wall was built, and now it never happens. It's terrific. Secondly, the threat of rocket attacks is being voided by the Iron Dome, which has been a spectacular invention, major change in warfare. The first time an anti-missile has really worked and sheltered a civilian population, proving that Ronald Reagan was basically right when he urged Star Wars ahead of his time. But the third thing will be that they have got to take action against the tunnels that the Hamas built under the Gaza border, right up to Israeli kindergartens. And the plan was horrific. It was on Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, on September 24th, to explode these tunnels simultaneously underneath 10 or 20 different Israeli schools, killing hundreds or perhaps thousands of children, and creating a shock in Israel even greater than the 9/11 shock to the United States. Well, they nipped it in time, but Israel, when they invaded Gaza and saw these tunnels, had no idea how extensive, how long, and how deep, and how well equipped they were. And frankly, the Israeli intelligence was embarrassed that they didn't know about it and hadn't located these tunnels in advance. So now I think Netanyahu is banking on a massive investment in research and development to figure out how to find these tunnels and how to destroy them without having to cross the border and invade Gaza. And I think he'll be successful. This doesn't seem like an insurmountable task. And then Israel will be in a position of relative invulnerability. It can't be attacked from the air, it can't be attacked from the underground, and it can't be attacked on the surface. And then we'll settle into a long period of neither peace nor war, in which Hamas will fulminate and attack Israel and rally the children of Palestinian territories to sacrifice their lives, but they won't be able to. There'll be literally nothing that they could do that would hurt Israel or would kill any Israelis. And I think that that's going to cause the same kind of change that's now going on the West Bank, where many of the residents, you don't see the West Bank residents rising in sympathy with Hamas. You don't get reports of West Bank Palestinians moving into Gaza to stand with Hamas against the Israelis. The West Bank has been pretty quiescent. And I think that's because they've been largely pacified by their inability to strike Israel. Once it becomes clear that they can't do it, after 2 and 3 and 4 years, people get bored, people get distracted, they move on to other stuff, and life goes on, which is really the ultimate beginning of a real solution to the Israeli-Palestinian problem. So I think that's what's really in the cards.